Hello everybody and welcome. My name's Ralakar. Today we're going to be reading and going through some of the New World patch notes. If you're too lazy like me to read them yourself, which I normally am, well, I'm going to read them for you. All you have to do is listen with your ears now. So, we're joined here by Twitch chat, so if you want to tune into any streams, you can catch me on twitch.tv/Ralakar. Stop in there, see my stream schedule. You can check out the Discord, do all the things. Anyways, all right, so New World released a huge patch this morning called Into the Void, and this is their official game release for November 2021 for New World, and it is massive. It's the first large content update since launch. This is a massive deal. All right, let's get into it. So, Into the Void. Featuring new weapon, the Void Gauntlet, new enemies, balance changes, and bug fixes. There's a bunch in here. So the spotlight, the coolest thing that they have here is the new weapon, the Void Gauntlet. The Void Gauntlet has manifested itself in Aeternum. Manipulate the powers of the Void to support your allies and debilitate your enemies with this magical damage/support hybrid weapon. It's the first weapon to scale on both intelligence and focus, making it a great pairing with the life staff and other magical weapons. Adventurers will be able to progress through 2 weapon mastery trees, allowing the player to manipulate void magic in different ways. The Annihilation tree focuses on maximizing damage at close range and revolves around Void Blade, a summoned blade of corrosive energy. That's cool. That's cool. It makes me think of like rogues or it makes me think of the Zeratul in StarCraft 2. The Decay tree offers ranged healing and debuffs and revolves around Orb of Decay, a dual-phase projectile that can debuff enemies and heal allies. With its arsenal of buffs and debuffs, the Void Gauntlet is perfect for group combat and can significantly bolster your allies at the expense of your enemies. A great introduction for a new weapon. I hope they do all of the introductions like this. Honestly, it would also be cool, to be honest, to just see a video of the abilities and shit. Like, it would be super neat. Little bit of some pictures here. Oh, look at that. Look at that bad boy right there. Oh, look at this. It's like a shield or something. It's like some kind of shield aura. It's pretty neat. Okay, cool. What else do we have? The spotlight. New enemies. The Varangian Knights. The Varangians are a force of invading knights currently raiding southeastern Aeternum. They are led by Lord Commander Atalas. Atalas, a Gaul with a reputation for brutality and a twisted sense of humor. Commander Atalas and the Varangians, or Varangians? We'll do Varangians, are vassals to a powerful warlord named Varik the Hammer Iznov. He's Russian. It sounds Russian. Polish, maybe? Latvian? Don't know. It's also a fantasy world, so those places don't exist. They have been sent to southeastern Aeternum in search of magical artifacts and arcane lore left behind by the Crimson Sorcerer. Okay, so a little bit of world building and calling to some lore. Crimson Sorcerer, I don't feel like we've heard that name before. Their goal is to secure magical weapons that will help their lord in his conquests. The Varangians are fiercely competitive and will vie with one another to curry favor with Lord Commander Atalas. Interesting. Why these fearsome warriors have arrived is the question to all. Face off against multiple new enemy types, including the Varangian Hewer, Varangian Scout, Varangian Knight, and the Varangian Archer, as you ascertain what they are chasing in Aeternum. Amazing. New enemies. Pog. Okay, so this is how I'm going to do the patch notes, okay? I'm not going to read line by line everything. We're going to kind of skim through this and talk about some of the bigger points that you probably care about. There's going to be a lot of bug fixes and tiny, I wouldn't even say, maybe improvements and things too that I'm not going to really speak on. So here, to start off with, they add some visual changes to early world areas that you probably saw when you were first leveling. This is huge here. You run faster on roads now. While running on roads, you will now receive a movement bonus. Movement speed bonus of 10% while traveling on roads. The move speed bonus will not trigger unless the player has been running for 3 seconds and they are on a road. The movement bonus will be cancelled if a player engages in combat in any way, such as dodging, blocking, attacking, or being hit with a debuff. Okay, cool. So when you're PvPing and when you're dueling and stuff, you're not going to be able to like get the bonus. Although, I wonder what the cooldown is, because so it says if you've been running for 3 seconds and they are on a road, so maybe you could disengage in PvP by sneaking onto a road and just fucking taking off. You might be able to do that. So, okay, the move speed bonus is not active while the player is actively engaged in wars, outpost rush, or duels. Okay, makes sense. This is huge. This is massive. Added a 10% luck bonus and a 30% gathering luck bonus to players flagged for PvP. That is massive, guys. That's huge. 10% luck to just items and chests and stuff, but 30% to gathering materials. That's so good. I honestly think they should have had it from the beginning, because most gatherers never flag. You don't flag. There's no reason. You're going to get murked because usually you're wearing gathering gear. It's not like set up for PvP at all, you know. But this is big. This is really big. All right, so they fixed some issues here. They updated a lot of quests. They've added some quests. New PvP faction missions is really big. This is going to add some flavor to doing the faction stuff, which is really nice for those people who are doing those. And then there's a lot of other things here for that. There's some more notable bug fixes. Let's see here. So this is combat and AI. This is big. All right. So gear perks. These are big deals. These are big deals. All right. Listen up. Increased scaling of leeching perks on rings and weapons from a range of 0.5% to 1.5%. Damage converted to health on hit to a range of 1% to 5%. So they massively buffed scaling. It was at 0.5 to 1.5. Now it's at 1 to 5%. That's a huge buff, because if it maxed out at 5%, that's actually a lot of leech. If you have that on multiple items, you're going to be healing a considerable amount from attacking with weapons, which is really good. I could see this being something that gets used on the Rapier or the hatchet, for example. It could be really good on the hatchet too. All right, increase the efficiency of freedom, vigor, and invigorate debuff reduction perks from a range of 3% to 5% to a range of 3% to 8%. So they increased the ceiling for this. So when you're crafting really high gear score items, you're going to get even higher percentages. Very good. Decrease the cooldown of the Keen Speed perk, which grants haste on critical hits from 10 seconds to 5 seconds. So this means you get it more frequently. So you get the bonuses from the perk more frequently. And increased haste duration from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. So not only do you get the buff more frequently, it lasts for longer when you get it. Really good. Increased the poisoning, bloodletting, burning, crippling, enfeebling, and infected effect duration on ring perks from a range of 3% to 7% to a range of 5% to 15%. So again, great change here. The infected is particularly important because that reduces healing, I believe. So really nice there. Some good stuff. All right, equip load. This is another big change. So increased the healing bonus of light equip load from 20% to 30%, and increased the healing bonus for medium equip load from 10% to 15%. This is a 10% healing bonus increase when wearing light gear, and a 5% healing bonus increase when wearing medium gear. So this is incentivizing people who are in healing roles to use lighter gear. They're gonna get bigger bonuses. And the reason why they're doing this is because there's so many people running around in heavy gear. It's the meta. Like, if you're a hardcore PvPer and you're doing what everyone else is doing, you're running heavy gear. And so they're really incentivizing people to use these lighter loads so that, it's a little bit more variety. There's a little bit more use to it, which I really like. I really like this a lot. All right, so there's some navigation updates and fixes here. They fixed some bugs on duels. They made some changes and bug fixes to some attribute problems, which are going to be really important. So this is actually a really big nerf. They reduced the damage reduction provided by the 250 Constitution bonus from 80% to 60%. That's a big deal. That's a 20% nerf there. Actually more, technically. So a little bit more. So that's a pretty big deal. So now having 250 Constitution isn't as good as it was before. But to be honest, I don't think that many people have 250 Constitution. So, so dodge rolling, they fixed some bugs with that. Some other stuff. All right, now we're at the meat, boys. We're at the meat of it. This is the good stuff. We're at weapons. Let me see if I can't. Oh, yes. The good stuff. We're there. Okay. So these are weapon balance changes, guys. Every weapon had some. I'm pretty sure every weapon had some. So let's start off from the top. The Warhammer. Our goal with some of the changes below is to make the power of Juggernaut Weapon Mastery tree stand out a bit more from the Crowd Crusher tree and funnel some of the power of Shockwave's Rend to the Armor Breaker's Rend. So the people who are using Warhammer are pretty much all using the same abilities. There's not a whole lot of reason to use some of these other ones, so they aren't. Like, they're just not as good. So let's see what we got here. So Armor Breaker, lasting trauma, increased rend effectiveness from 15% to 20%. Opening Act, increased bonus damage from 15% to 25%. Adjusted Armor Breaker's hitbox to make it easier to hit enemies on inclines or that have been knocked down. This is honestly a really big buff because it can be really frustrating to hit people that are like above or below you because of verticality of like an incline or slope or something. And also it can be really tricky to hit people when they're knocked down sometimes. You actually have to like aim down to hit them. You can't just aim where they would be if they were standing. So let's see here. Mighty Gavel, increased damage scaling from 160% to 170%. Reduce the cooldown from 22 seconds to 20 seconds. And Justice for All, the final perk, I presume. Increased damage scaling from 200% to 220%. This is a really nice buff for this ability. It's already a really nice damaging ability. It can hit really hard. It's the hardest hitting hammer ability, and you can do it twice. It's insane. So they did a 10% scaling damage. I honestly don't like, that's nuts. Reduce the cooldown a little bit. This is going to make it feel a little bit nicer. And increasing the damage scaling there, oh man, that's a bold move. He just made it do significantly more damage. Wrecking Ball, increased damage from 120% to 130%. Safety measures, increased Fortify buff duration from 4 seconds to 7 seconds. So this is actually a little bit, this is a buff. So they increased the buff duration by 3 seconds. They almost doubled the buff duration. And Fortify can be really powerful. I actually don't know what percentage of Fortify it gives. I don't know if there's different like levels of Fortify. I'm not really sure. But they also increased the damage, so that definitely feels a bit nicer. Let's see here. So they reduced some rend effectiveness here on Shockwave, and they put it onto Armor Breaker, which is nice. Path of Destiny, they fixed a bug. And so exhaustive attacks, increased stamina regeneration penalty applied by the exhausted debuff from 15% to 20%. So whenever you run out of stamina from hitting and dodging and stuff a lot, I think it's just dodging. You can actually get, it'll be a little bit faster now at recovering. Not much, but a little bit. So that'll help. Hammer has no mobility, so any amount of stamina regeneration they can get is probably going to be pretty helpful for them. All right, Life Staff. Now this This is a big one. This is a real big one. A lot of people are using Life Staff, super meta weapon. In PvP, if you're not running this, you're kind of a fucking damage wacko, because if you have this, you're literally extremely difficult to kill. Extremely difficult. All right. The purpose of the Life Staff adjustments are to move some of the healing power into the light and medium equip loads while reducing some of the power of the tanky healing builds, which are what everyone is doing. We also want to make it easier to properly target and heal the correct group members. Nice, because I heard a lot of people that were using it weren't really liking the targeting. It was a little bit janky, and it was easy to heal the wrong person, which really sucks. So reduced base healing by 20% across the board to account for the increase in healing from equip load. Wow. Reduced the healing across the board. Whoa. So people just can't heal for as much as they used to unless they go and run light. That is insane. Okay. Pretty big stuff here. They've made some other changes here. Moving some of the... So they did some targeting adjustments. Sacred Ground, it looks like they've nerfed it. So fixed an issue where the life... Okay. Reduced effectiveness of the Sacred Ground Fortify perk from 3% to 15% to 3% to 10%. So the ceiling for that Fortify perk has been reduced by 5%, which is a lot. All right, reduced Holy Ground stamina and mana regeneration from 100% to 50%. Fixed an issue that allowed the healing from this skill to be stacked from multiple sources if they were using different ability upgrades. Okay. Splash of Light. I'm just kind of reading it a bit, trying to understand that one. The healing from the skill fixed an issue. So there was an issue that caused healing from the skill to be stacked from multiple sources if they were using different ability upgrades. Okay. So what was happening here is people were taking different passives, and the different passives like below the Sacred Ground ability. And if you had a different if you had the different ability upgrades between like 3 different people, so let's say each person had different upgrades, you could actually stack the healing from this ability. I did hear about that a little bit. Not a lot, but a bit. That's going to be a big deal because that's not going to stack anymore, so wars are probably going to be a lot better. Splash of Light. Increased the efficiency of Life Staff's Splash of Light ability from 40% to 60%. Increased the efficiency of Splash of Light's shared recovery upgrade from 3% to 5%. Just a bunch of changes here. I haven't personally used the Life Staff, so I don't really have too many comments to make on these. I'm just going to move on, and I'll probably move on through the rest of these as well. Orb of Protection. Fixed an issue where the shared protection effect was being refreshed by the healing applied by Protector's Blessing. Mending Protection, which is an item perk. This perk's functionality has been changed. Instead of triggering if the target does not have any active buffs, it now triggers if the target healed by Orb of Protection is under 50% health. So that's kind of good. It looks like a little bit of like smart healing, I guess you could say. So it's kind of, the game's kind of helping you out a little bit. That's pretty good. Oh, they've actually changed the functionality. I see. So if you target someone that's under 50% health, they'll get the Mending Protection perk, which is really nice. Cool. Or whatever this item perk does will trigger. All right, Light's Embrace. Increase the efficiency of Light's Embrace connection upgrade from 1% to 2%. Okay. And they changed the passive there, which is actually a really big nerf. Blessed. Reduced healing bonus effectiveness from a range of 10% to 30% to 5% to 20%. Significant nerf there. Big nerf, guys. Big nerf. We wanted to buff the throwing axe tree. So now we've moved on to the hatchet. We moved on to the hatchet here. I haven't used this one much either, but I have a lot more comments I can make about this, I'm sure. We wanted to buff the throwing axe tree to make it more useful. Buff the infected throw ability to make it more viable as an anti-healing ability. Very important. And improve the buffering for heavy attacks to make them more consistent to use. We also worked to resolve issues that resulted in missed hits. Okay, so they fixed some bugs there. Berserk fixed some bugs with Berserk, Feral Rush, Raging Torrent. Okay, we got actually some actual changes here now. Infected Throw. Increased disease and weakness duration from 5 seconds to 10 seconds. This is huge because this is what reduces the healing whenever you hit people with this ability. And this is going to be super effective at taking out some of these tanky people that are staying alive for a long time because they're healing from life staff or from potions and food. So this is a really big deal. It's doubling the time that they're taking reduced healing. Mortal Power, which is an upgrade on Infected Throw. Increased bonus duration on low health targets from 8 seconds to 15 seconds. And Aerial Transmission, another Infected Throw upgrade, increased the duration of the AoE cloud from 3 seconds to 6 seconds. So when you pick up Aerial Transmission as an upgrade and you hit someone, or I think you don't even need to hit someone with Infected Throw. Wherever the axe lands, it will generate like an AoE cloud of disease and weakness. And if you're in that, you get it. You take damage and things, I think, and reduced healing. So they've doubled the time for that, which is really nice. That's really, really nice. It's going to make it harder for healers to stand in their AoE heals. You can throw this in there, and it'll make them not want to be in there as much. Rending Throw, which is primarily just damage, I think. I think it causes a bleed, too. Reduced cooldown from 15 seconds to 8 seconds. So you can now just throw this way more often, which is really good. I think the cooldown, honestly, 15 seconds is a little long. So that's really good. All right, so moving on to the Great Axe now. There was nothing else too notable in the hatchet tree, mostly bug fixes and things, so it'll feel a little bit better. You won't run into too much buggy stuff in the world. All right, so talking about the Great Axe here. Quite a few bug issues, but there's one really big change down there on Whirlwind, if you can see it. So, Whirlwind, they've added grit to Whirlwind. This is huge. I don't know if people are still going to use Whirlwind or not. A lot of people don't use it. If they do, they use it in like PvE because it's fun. But it's not considered an optimal ability. However, adding grit to Whirlwind means that you cannot get knocked out of it. You cannot get CC'd while grit is active, which is fucking amazing. That's so good, because that means these people who are spinning forever in this now are going to be CC immune the whole time. So it's actually could be a really nice utility item to be able to get out of some sticky situations. And they updated some passives, so the Gravity passive no longer increases the duration of all pulls. We updated the ability to now apply Root for 0.25 seconds to targets hit by a pull. So that's pretty good. That Root is probably going to make it doesn't seem like a lot, but I think that's going to make a really big difference in feeling the effects of the ability. Especially if you're running towards them and they get stuck, right? Okay, now we're at the weapons that I use. All right, here's one of them. So I have a lot that I can comment on this, for sure. So the bow. The bow primary attack, they fixed an issue that allowed consecutive primary attacks to be fired faster than intended. So this is a bit of a nerf, but it's mostly just them. I've been in a few sticky situations before. I bet you have, Louie. I bet you have. So yeah, this is not really a nerf per se. Honestly, it's probably going to make it feel a little bit more consistent and fluid, which should help with aiming and rhythm. Rhythm's really important with the bow because as you're charging up heavy attacks and things, timing is really good, and there's a kind of a rhythm to it that you get used to. And sometimes it's a little off. It feels like it's off. So this should help with that. Updated descriptions for Rain of Arrows, Poison Shot, and Splinter Shot to indicate that they cannot headshot. So yeah, I think I knew that they couldn't headshot. I don't know if some people did, but I guess that's good that they've indicated that. It's clarifying a situation is always a good idea. Fixed an issue with several bow abilities not benefiting from increased damage from higher tier arrows. I wonder what those bow abilities were, because that's actually a big difference. That's going to add up. When you're doing like several thousand damage every shot, Like if, for example, if this was happening on Rapid Shot, which you shoot 3 arrows that deal a large amount of damage in a short amount of time, that you're actually missing out on quite a bit of damage, because those higher tier arrows really help on increasing your damage. Okay, so Evade Shot. The upgrade Go the Distance for Evade Shot now applies haste at the end of the ability rather than at the start. So the buff duration is not partially lost during the skill animation. Nice. That's pretty big. That's pretty nice. This is gonna really help people get away and feel like you can actually run for a decent amount of time afterwards with that haste. Because before you actually lost some of that during the animation, and the animation's actually kind of long. Like it's a big animation. All right, Poison Shot, reduced cooldown, but this is a buff, right? So this is a buff, and I would actually say the Bro primary attack fixes a buff as well. So overall, we're seeing some buffs here. Poison Shot, reduced cooldown of Poison Shot from 35 seconds to 30 seconds. This is a buff. This is a great ability. Super good. So the fact that they reduced the cooldown on this is freaking amazing. Fixed an issue that could cause Poison Shot to go on cooldown without the ability being fired. I literally have this happen to me all the time. Frequently. It kind of has to do when you're actually doing some other animations and things. You literally just like won't shoot it and it goes on cooldown and you're like, what the hell? I've been robbed. It's really unfortunate. All right, Rapid Shot. So this is the bow ability where you shoot 3 arrows in a pretty short amount of time. A lot of people don't take this. I actually personally do run this, but it's a bit greedy. It does a significant amount of damage, and I actually think it's really good. It's still very good in PvE, but a lot of people don't run this in PvP. So I think that's going to change. Reduced cooldown from 20 seconds to 14 seconds. And remember, on Rapid Shot, the last upgrade for it says that if you hit the last shot in Rapid Shot, it reduces the cooldown of the ability by 50%, which means if you actually have Rapid Shot maxed on upgrades, your cooldown was reduced to 14 seconds because of this buff. And then with the 50% reduction, it's going to go down to 7 seconds. That is huge. That means you'll be able to use Rapid Shot frequently. Like you can actually mix this now into a rotation where you're doing a few auto attacks, you're moving around, you're using Rapid Shot. Like this isn't an ability that just goes on cooldown forever. Like you're going to be able to use this a lot if you're actually hitting your shots. This is super good. A really big deal. Fixed an issue where this, so Rapid Accuracy, which is an upgrade, fixed an issue where this upgrade would not reduce the cooldown if the last arrow of Rapid Shot killed the enemy. Yeah, so this is great too, because this is really reinforcing that, you know, they fixed an issue and on this last ability, so you won't see any problems with that anymore. Everything else isn't great. Rain of Arrows no longer hits enemies through doors, yeah, whatever. And fixed an issue that shouldn't have happened to begin with. So big buffs here, big buffs. The bow, really taking a W on this one, a W. Except it kind of gets put in the shadows by the musket buffs. We'll get there. Don't worry, we'll get there. All right, so a sword. Our main goal of the sword and shield updates were to make the leaping strike ability feel better and to improve the buffering for heavy attacks to make them more consistent. So they fixed some issues here for attack cancels and things and timings, so very good. Shield Rush. The upgrade improved Rush, increased weaken duration from 4 seconds to 10 seconds. That's really good. That's really good. Leaping Strike has a reduced cooldown from 25 seconds to 18 seconds. So that's a nice 7-second cooldown reduction there. Increased damage scaling from 135% to 150%. This is going to feel great to people. I think this is going to be really good into getting people to want to use this a little bit more. Speed up the recovery after using Leaping Strike to make it easier to transition. Yep, that's really nice. That's a nice quality of life improvement. That's really gonna help out a lot. And they updated an upgrade to that ability as well. All right, so moving on to the Fire Staff. This sword received, and going back to the sword actually real quick, it received a few buffs here. that are really nice, and they fixed some bugs. So far, everything's gotten buffs except for a few things, which is really, really nice. All right, so Fire Staff. We updated the Fire Staff to reduce some of the effectiveness of standard attacks due to how powerful they felt in comparison to certain abilities, and updated some abilities to feel more impactful. Pillar of Fire has increased damage scaling from 134% to 170%. This ability already did a dumpy buttload of damage, especially in PvE when you can group enemies up and things. And they buffed it to 170%. That's insane. They fixed some bugs with it. One of the bugs in particular that was really good is they fixed an issue that caused Pillar of Fire to hit twice against targets near the edge of the effect radius. This happened frequently. People would be hit by this twice, and it hurts. It hurts big time. So you're not going to be getting dump trucked by Pillar of Fire anymore because of a bug. I didn't even know it was a bug. To be honest, I thought that was intended. So that's actually kind of insane. All right. Let's see. Fireball. Added additional clarity that the Fireball ability is not able to crit. Previously, it would show the crit damage color, but not actually deal increased damage. Okay. A little bit of clarification there. Flamethrower. Increased damage scaling from 34% to 50%. This might make this ability viable with some people. We'll have to see. That's a really big damage increase, because for those of you who don't know, Flamethrower is actually it's like a not a damage over time ability. You channel it. It's a channeled ability. So you press it and it actually attacks like a large number of attacks very frequently. They don't do much damage, but it adds up. So buffing this by 16% damage scaling is actually a big deal. That's gonna increase the damage of that ability significantly. Like it'll probably triple the total number of damage for that ability, around that, because it's gonna do 16% per hit. It's not gonna do 16% more damage overall. Like that's a lot of extra damage. It's 16% times how many instances of 16% there is, or not times, like you add them all together. So yeah, like if you compared the 34% total damage to 50%, it's not going to be a 16% increase. So that's cool. And a ton of passive changes here. They have nerfed the Fire Staff passives not into the ground, but they have nerfed them significantly. I mean, you can see here 20% to 15% reduction on Pyromania. Spellslinger reduced crit chance bonus from 15% to 10%. Fixed an issue where the crit chance was increased for standard attacks and not just abilities, so it literally is getting reduced even more. Prophet of a Fire God reduced crit damage bonus from 20% to 15%. Rune of Helios reduced damage bonus from 30% to 25%. Clear Mind reduced empower effectiveness from 10% to 5%. I mean, all of these are nerfs. These are all nerfs. So they actually put some buffs in here, which I think is good, and they put a significant amount of nerfs. So you're not going to see some of the massive numbers that you're seeing from a lot of these fire mages in wars. That main the Fire Staff, and they're just out here dump trucking people with fireballs from the sky and Pillar of Fire, and just nuking people with auto attacks that do like 4K. It's ridiculous. Okay. All right, so Spear got some amazing changes, boys. Really nice changes here. It got buffed big time. Our goal was to buff and adjust some of the lesser used abilities to make a wider selection of abilities feel viable. Adjusted the distance the player moved towards the target when doing a heavy attack. The heavy attack was pulling the user too close previously, resulting in the Deadly Reach passive not being able to trigger consistently. Okay, let me break this down for you guys. So the heavy attack animation on the Spear, you do a little bit of a lunge forward, your character model actually moves, and then you kind of reach out with the Spear and poke them from a long distance. So what they're saying is, it was actually moving you too close to the target, and there's a passive that increases crit chance, I think. I think Deadly Reach increases crit chance on enemies a certain distance away. And so you weren't actually meeting the requirements on distance to activate this, which is really bad. That's really, really bad. So this is a big deal because now spear users, when they're actually using heavy attacks, are going to have more crit. And there's some potential there. That's a pretty nice buff, I think. Okay, so the first ability here, Sweep. The coup de grace upgrade has increased damage scaling from 125% to 150%. That's a big deal. This attack is now flagged as heavy, allowing it to trigger heavy-related passives. Ooh, that means that all those passives that increase the amount of damage your next heavy attack does, increase the amount of damage, increase the cooldown reduction, because there's a spear passive that whenever you heavy attack, it reduces the cooldown of your spear abilities. It's very, very good. So this is going to add to that. It basically guarantees, if you hit this ability, it guarantees cooldown reduction, which is super good. Skewer, increased bleed damage from 10% to 20%. That is a really big deal. The bleed damage from Skewer is doubled. It's doubled. That's a long bleed, boys. That's doing some damage. There's some numbies coming out of that one now. So that's really a really nice little tidbit there. Very good. Perforate. That's the spear ability where you do like the 3 quick stabs really quick. Increased damage scaling from 70% to 80%. And remember, it's 3 instances of damage. So that's a 10% damage increase for each one. Very good. Cyclone, that's a whirlwind ability that Spear uses. So you hit all the enemies around you and it slows them by a decent amount, like 30%, I think. Increased damage scaling from 110% to 130%. So this does more damage now. I honestly still don't think this is going to get used. I think people aren't going to use this, but the Spear doesn't have many AoE attacks. So Cyclone is really your only option. So if you do need it, people are probably going to run this a little bit more now. It looks a little bit more enticing. Vault Kick. Fixed an issue where Vault Kick's cooldown began 1 frame before the hitbox would appear. This resulted in the ability going on cooldown if the attack was interrupted early, even if it didn't hit. So nice little fix there. Vault Kick's not going to be bugged out as much. All right, let me summarize the Ice Gauntlet for you. We're going to go over it, but the boy got nerfed, let me tell you, okay? It got nerfed. Our goal with the Ice Gauntlet was to tone down the effectiveness of some of the maxed out combinations of abilities while still maintaining their individual usefulness. They increased the heavy attack startup and recovery time to make it consistent with other magic weapons' heavy attack timing. That means you cannot heavy attack as quickly and reliably with the Ice Gauntlet. It was too easy before. You could charge that shit up and launch it, go in Mach 7 every like 1.5 seconds. Like that, it's like one every second, dude. You're doing it. It's insane. And it would. I'm at level. I don't have good gear and like good weapons and stuff. I'm doing like 2,200 a hit on a heavy attack with the Ice Gauntlet every second. If you're hitting them, it's insane. So that's really nice. That's really, really nice. Fixed an issue where Ice Gauntlet movement was faster when attacking than other magic weapons. So Ice Storm, here we go. Ice Storm, this is big. Damage time between ticks, or increased the time between damage ticks from 0.25 seconds to 0.33 seconds. That's a big one, boys. That's a big one. That's reducing the number of ticks considerably for the overall ability. You're cutting that down from 4 a second down to 3 a second, which means overall you're going to do, I think, 6 or 8 ticks less than you used to. Less damage. It's a big deal. A big one. Okay. Ice Spike. They fixed a little bug with it. Wind Chill. Increased damage scaling per tick from 16% to 20%. I actually think that's really good because that ability is really cool. For those of you who don't know, Wind Chill is the ability where it's a channeled ability, kind of like the Flamethrower on the Fire Staff, but it's with Frost. You basically summon a blizzard out of your hands. It shoots forward in front of you, and it pushes enemies back to a distance. And when they're beyond a certain distance, it does extra damage. So the damage actually goes up when they're at a certain range in front of you. It's really cool. Ice Shower, they increased the cooldown from 20 seconds to 30 seconds. That's massive, boys. People aren't getting stopped every 20 seconds and rooted and having to run around stuff. It's going to make Ice Gauntlet players a lot less slimy, okay? A lot less escapable, a lot less abusive. They freeze you in place and they do dirty things with their Ice Gauntlet, okay? They're not going to be doing it as much. Very, very nice. And they also fixed a bunch of bullshit with Entombed. Entombed players can no longer be healed. Nice. You're dying? No problem. Encase yourself in a block of ice right after you ate some food so you can just heal while you're entombed. It's stupid. Reduced the health of the tomb to 50% of the player's max health. This is great. Means you can break the entomb way easier. They reduced the damage. Look at that. Reduced damage of the breakout burst attack, which what that is, whenever Entombed is finished or the tomb gets killed or it's run out of time, it explodes and does damage. They reduced that to 70%. Nice. Nice, boys. That's a big one. It's a big one. All right. Ice Pylon. No one cares. No one cares about Ice Pylon. If you do care, they increased the maximum lifetime of Ice Pylon to 45 seconds, and they increased the Pylon's health by 20%. Hey, thank you for the follow, Kimmel. I appreciate it. All right, so some passives here. Ultimate Chill. This is the final ability, the ultimate ability in one of the trees on the Ice Gauntlet. Reduced Ultimate Chill's bonus damage from 35% to 25%. That's a big nerf. Fixed an issue where the Ultimate Chill's ability would not apply to enemies in some cases. That's good. Good to fix that. A little bit of a buff. Updated Ultimate Chill tooltip wording to better clarify its functionality. So this got nerfed. This is a big deal. That's a big one. Like, a lot of people run this if they're using Ice Gauntlet. This is the ultimate ability that they run. Critical Frost. Reduced critical damage bonus from 20% to 15%. Energized Critical. Reduced critical damage bonus from 15% to 10%. Nice. These are nerfs. Ice Gauntlet players aren't going to be critting for as much now. Not as much. Heavy Freeze. Added a 5-second cooldown to the freeze effect. Fixed an issue that allowed enemies with this passive to root players standing in their own ice storm. What? That sounds wild. So they added a 5-second cooldown. This is big because you know what happened before? People would use Ice Shower. They'd freeze you in the wind chill, or not wind chill, in the ice storm, sorry. They'd freeze you with Ice Shower, throw Ice Storm on top of you, and then they would hit you with heavy attacks, which would keep you in place, and you'd take the full damage from Ice Storm while taking guaranteed heavy attacks. You'd take like 3 or 4 heavy attacks. Again, that's several thousand damage a heavy attack, plus all the damage from the Ice Storm. It was busted. Busted. Okay, so that's been significantly nerfed. Okay, guys, now we've gotten to what I believe are the 2 biggest deal changes besides the life staff in the weapons, okay? This is big. Rapier and musket. We're going to cover Rapier first. Now, I think the Rapier changes aren't going to be noticed that much by most people. The reason why is because most people don't run Tondo. Most people run Flurry, Riposte, and the movement utility ability. Most people do not run Tondo. This buff on the Rapier is huge, so let's talk about it a little bit. Flurry. Improved the homing of Flurry to fix an issue where subsequent attacks would frequently miss or be hard to hit. This is a big problem with Flurry, where it's just really hard to hit enemies that when you wanted to flurry them. The attack hitbox for the ability was very long and narrow, and so people could easily kind of weasel their way out of it even after you just like homed onto them. So this is a really big deal. This is a big buff for Flurry. Really, really nice. Okay, now the biggest buff, okay? The biggest buffs are here. Tondo, reduced cooldown from 11 seconds to 6 seconds. 6 seconds. Okay, for those of you who don't know, there's a build that I run. Some of you may have seen this. I have used it on stream several times. We've tested it before. My Rapier build is a bleed combo build. Whenever you use Tondo, it puts a bleed on an enemy. That bleed does it does a little bit of damage, and it can stack up to 3 times. So every time you hit an enemy with Tondo, it refreshes the existing stack of the bleed and adds a new one. So it means that you can stack it up to 3 times. So it will be ticking for 3 bleeds worth of damage, okay? Now, you might think, oh, well, that's cool, little dot. Yeah, very cute. Okay, there is another ability in the Rapier tree. It's called Flourish and Finish. It's a 2-part ability. You do a move that knocks enemies back a little distance and does some damage. And then if you basic attack after the first phase of Flourish and Finish, in the Flourish part, if you basic attack after that, you will do a dash and you will stab, you will finish the person. And it uses the Tondo stacks on the target, the bleed stacks. And it will instantly deal all of the damage of the bleed and some extra damage, plus some more damage. So what will happen is if you have 3 Tondo stacks on someone and you Flourish and Finish them, you will almost kill them. It does most of their health. It's not a one-shot. Now maybe it could be. I haven't tested it. I'm not max level. I haven't done a lot of PvP we've been crafting. I'm just saying it was decent before, but the problem is Tondo was an 11-second cooldown. I actually thought it was 12 if I'm 100% honest. So the downside was you needed to actually attack somebody and stay alive for at least 33 seconds in order to get the 3 Tondo stacks. Guys, that's a long time in a fight. Some people are really good at closing the gap, staying close to you, beating your ass, okay? 33 seconds is a long time. They reduced Tondo to 6. So that means 18 seconds is how long you need to stay alive to get this off. And if you get it off, you're probably going to win because it's so much damage. It's a lot. So this is a huge buff. People don't know it because no one uses this build. It's just me. It's a big buff. Riposte. Cooldown reduced from 20 seconds to 12 seconds. Another big buff. Riposte is an ability. You hold out your Rapier. If an enemy attacks you with a melee attack or a melee ability during that time, you will avoid that damage, hit them, and stun them. So it is a counter. It's a reactive ability. If someone's going to do something to you, you can riposte it. It's very, very good. They also increased the stun duration, the base stun duration. So people are going to be stunned for longer. It's more punishing and it's more frequent. This is honestly a crazy buff. I actually think this is nuts. Like 12 seconds is pretty short, and you can get that reduced, by the way. You could probably reduce this down to maybe 11 to 10 seconds. So that's really frequent. Lasting consequence. Stun duration increased from 2 seconds to 2.5 seconds. They make it even longer if you get this. Oh my gosh, that's crazy. Okay, now this passive is really, really good. Momentum. Increased bonus damage from 25% to 30%. The Rapier's doing a little bit more damage, boys. This is great. The Rapier received nothing but buffs, and the buffs were really good, especially if you're using my build and you're using Tondo. It's very good, very strong. Okay. Musket. Similar to the balance updates of other weapon, our goal was to buff and adjust some of the lesser used abilities to make a wider selection of abilities feel viable. Increased musket base damage by 2.5%. Now, let me show you guys, okay? We're going to talk about these first, but I have a video to show you guys. It's not very long, don't worry. I know we're approaching an hour here. I didn't expect that, if I'm honest. We're literally done after this. Like, I'm not talking about more shit. This has gone on way longer than I thought. All right. Musket base damage increased by 2.5%. Cool. Traps. Traps can no longer be triggered by players in Death's Door. I'm not entirely sure what that means, but it's good. It basically sounds like a bug fix. Sticky Bomb. Increased damage from 175%, so it's already pretty high, to 235%, boys. That's like the hardest hitting or scaling ability in the game. That's insane. Stopping Power. This is a big one. People use this. Reduced cooldown from 18 seconds to 15 seconds. That's a nice buff. That's nice. That's a 3-second decrease on the cooldown. That's big. Power Shot. Reduced cooldown from 15 seconds to 12 seconds. Another nice 3-second reduction in cooldown. That's a nice buff. Shooter's Stance. Reduced cooldown from 20 seconds to 18 seconds. Players can now exit Shooter's Stance by pressing Sprint, the ability key, dodge, escape, or releasing right mouse button. Very good. So they received some cooldown stuff, increased damage on one ability, and they got increased base damage by 2.5%. Now, let me show you guys something. Okay? Let me show you. Let's go here. Let me show you guys what the patch actually did to the musket, okay? Let me show you guys what it actually did. Let me see here. New World Into the Void musket. Okay. This is a video I'm gonna show you guys, alright? This is a big deal. Alright, so he's showing you his gear, he's showing you his weapon. Okay. Regular headshot. A decent amount of damage. Remember, this is a hit scan weapon. Very long range. That's a decent amount of damage. Look at this powder burn. 4,673 damage. You can one-shot some people with that almost now if they don't heal. They have really, really low health. Power Shot. 3,155 damage. It's a nice hard-hitting ability there. Stopping Power, a little bit lower. 2,524. Okay. This is the amount of time it takes to shoot 5 shots. Again, this is before the patch. Okay, 8 seconds and 21 milliseconds. Okay, 8.21 seconds. So this is how long it takes to just shoot 5 shots. Now let's look at after the patch. Okay, he's showing you. He's got the same stuff basically. All right, same stuff. He's got the same weapon. And if you go back to the beginning, he's got the same gear, pretty much. He's all the same. He's not got any extra buffs. 4,020 damage. That headshot damage almost doubled. 4,000 is a lot, boys. This is a ton of damage. Four 1,143 damage on the powder burn shot, dealing 423 times 10 for the burn ticks for a total of 8,373 damage. This is killing people. This is a guarantee one shot on most people that aren't running like heavy armor and constitution gear. That's what this is. This is if you are not healing or you can't heal or something like that, this will kill you if you don't get healed. This will just kill you. One ability. Boom. Because remember, the burn damage doesn't get affected by headshots, right? So it's just you know, even if he didn't headshot, it would still do the same amount. So it's still going to do 4,230 damage for the burn. It'll just do a little bit less for not getting the headshot on the front end, right? Crazy. Crazy stuff. Look at it go. Insane. All right, Power Shot, the big one. Oh, 5,650. Again, boys, keep in mind, this is a hit scan weapon. This is hit scan. you can just fucking shoot this for miles. You can be crouched in a bush looking at somebody with your binoculars. You got your spotter next to you. He's calling out the wind directions. And you're sitting there. You got your musket and you're looking. You're getting the directions from the spotter. 4 ticks to the left, sir. And you fucking pull out your power shot and you slap someone in the head and boom, laid out flat. They just got slapped silly. They got shot so hard, they aren't even in the game anymore. They got to restart their game because you just hit them for 5,650. Imagine you do this, right? You do the powder burn. You don't even get a headshot. You do 2,000 damage plus 4,230 damage for 6,000 damage. Okay? 6,500. I'm going to do the maths for you. Don't worry. I'll keep track of it. Okay? 6,500 damage. Boom, you pull out the power shot. They're running around. They're like, who shot me? I don't know what's going on. I'm burning. They're stop, dropping, and rolling like they got taught in middle school. And boom, boom, you slap them with the power shot. They're not coming back, boys. They're not coming back. Okay? Their health potion's on cooldown. They just healed 1,400. And the powder burn is still ticking away. And you slap them for another 5,000 damage. 2 shots. Granted, a little bit long reload time on these abilities. Who cares? Okay, who cares? You just ended somebody's life. You ended it. And we got stopping power here. 4,520 damage. The damage doubled, boys. It doubled. It does twice as much damage as it used to do. Yeah, so you know that little, let's just go back and look here. Little 2.5% damage increase on the base. Little 2.5%. No. I think they put a few extra zeros on there. It was like 205%. I don't know. I don't know what happened, but yeah, the musket's nutty. And look, he has no buffs. Okay, he's no buffs. He's just slapping people. Okay. Firing rate. We saw this. The before patch, if you guys don't remember, was 8.21 seconds. Monka S. 7.9. They took a second off of it. Look at this, side by side. Not good, boys. Not good. The musket is probably the best ranged weapon in the game now. I genuinely believe this. For PvP, I think maybe DPS, it might not be there. You might be able to get more DPS out of one of the magic weapons or the bow. Because keep in mind, the bow got the buff. The bow got the buff on rapid shot. This is going to increase the DPS of the bow significantly if you actually pick this up. So in PvE situations, you might still be able to squeeze more DPS out of the bow, probably, if you're hitting your shots. But the musket is now insane. The musket's very good. It's hit scan. It's going to be easier to hit enemies. This is really, really good. All right, we're going to have to wrap it up there. We're at 58 minutes on the recording here. Oh my gosh. I think stream's probably fucking dead now from listening to patch notes for a game they probably don't even play. But yeah, we're gonna have to end it there. I hope you guys enjoyed my kind of review and reading through the patch notes here. There's a few like minor changes on AI and some things and tuning. It's not too big of a deal. We get through the meat of it. The weapon balance was a big deal. Yeah, I would really appreciate some feedback on this video. And yeah, come check out the stream sometime. Let me know how I did. How do you think I could improve this video reading the patch notes here? You know, any format changes? Would you like to see some in-game examples on screen while I'm reading maybe? That sounds like a lot of work for me, but I'm happy to do it for you guys. Okay. Happy to do it. All right. That's going to be all for today's video, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Toodles.